Well, it works for the audience, not for you. You can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I got Twitch. It's always so early.
It is early. It's so early.
I love
for
you,
him.
Rob. It's Valentine's Day, and I love you, buddy.
Heart emojis to everyone in the chat who's joined us today. Big love to everyone. Perfect day to celebrate reading through all the Daughters of Khaine Warscrolls. That's what we're going to be doing today. Very much looking forward to it. It's going to be super fun. Really enjoyed yesterday. It was really good. It's great. Great. Very much looking forward to it. Dayton, are you well? I want to catch up with you before we get into it.
How you doing mentally, Rob?
Oh, really well. Really well, thank you very much. Like, having a lovely day. I sent a couple of my bros some Valentine's love cards. One of those things that you could always do if you want to, like, it's like, I just messaged a bunch of guys the other day. I was like, Happy Valentine's Day. And they were like, yeah, you do. I was like, yeah, let's fuck. And they were like, no. I was like,
It's been a year.
Yeah.
But sure.
But yeah, so really, really good. And I just hope everyone's having a good day. Tough day for some people some days. Just know that you're loved and you're appreciated. Dayton, are you doing well? You all right?
Yeah. Sorry, Twitch chat is cracking me up. Yes, these are the new Lumineth realm releases. The mooses.
The mooses.
That's good. That's good.
All right. Okay. Should we jump into the Daughters of Khaine stuff?
One moment.
Please
just want to make people aware of 40 Hours of 40K. I don't know if anyone's heard about it before, but this campaign's been going on for many years. And it's outreach for men's mental health. Sorry, ladies. And basically, they are all centered around the Warhammer. They do like a big fundraising campaign all the time. One of the best painters I know he paints an army for them, and they do a silent auction. This year, they're doing Necrons.
Oh, wow. Okay, that sounds great. 40 hours of 40K.
Yeah. Bobby, he's the guy that painted up the tabletop.
Okay.
The guard army with the red berets.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's the one that painted all that. So, and yeah, they'll be doing that campaign in the summer as the silent auction. So, but they're always around and they reach out. So if you ever need any help or whatever, they're a good one to reach out to, and they're a bunch of nerds. So,
okay.
Good on them.
So 40K in 40 hours. There's some guys that reach
40 hours of 40K.
Oh, apologies.
No,
all right, sweet. Good shout out. I love a good shout out. Yeah, you guys go check that out.
It's like a mental health thing. I don't know why it's always around me, but I try to get involved. Daughters of Khaine. That's my mental health.
Daughters of Khaine. Oh, no, that's a good one. That's a good shout out. Can I thank to Shoe Hot Thirsts? I think I've got that right. Or I don't know. But first Twitch stream. Love your content, Rob. Hope Hagnar is still usable. It is. And also massive love to you. Knigget, hello. Hope you're well. Right. So we're going to talk through the Warscrolls, but before we do talk through the Warscrolls, we need to kind of have an overview. Let's go where the army was, and let's go to where the army is now. It's a quick overview. When Daughters of Khaine was first released, which was way back in Age of Sigmar 1, you do have to remember that they were a horde army. An important point to note. Magic Thompson, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, they were a horde army. Now, most people don't really remember that because over the years and the iterations, they basically got points hiked up more and more for different units because ultimately they were very strong. When they first came out, or when we were doing the Age of Sigmar stats, they had like 78% win rate at one point, like dropped down. They won GT after GT after GT. Different players from around the world. Benjamin Savage himself obviously did so well with them, just going like back to back. I think he won 3, lost second or third or something, and then won another. It was a crazy run. And really, Games Workshop didn't change any of the rules. That's not what they did. They didn't like modify anything. Instead, all they did was uptick points. So what we got before the new Daughters of Khaine book was really a book of upticked points for an army. And as we know, the points have gone down drastically in this book. And I feel that that's on par with where the book was originally pitched, is my point. So when you do look at this book and you think, wow, the points have really gone down, it feels like that's where they wanted those points to be originally anyway. They wanted 90 or so Witch Elves. They didn't want Witch Elves to be the elite unit that they were in Hagnar, although, lol, still are. But they wanted them to be a horde army, which is where they originally pitched. So I think that's an interesting kind of like conversation before we get into the tone of the book and the rest of the book, right? You got any thoughts on that, Dayton?
And with the Broken Realms really kicked Morathi up, and people were pretty much auto-including her. And then we had that list from Australia with the Cauldron.
Corey. Corey, yeah.
The
Yeah,
teleport
Corey was.
shenanigans.
Yeah, we saw teleport, we saw snakes. Oh, yeah, obviously since the release of
They
the
changed
Broken
that.
Realms
Can't
book,
do that anymore. Sorry, Corey.
yeah, we saw the viability, but it used to be snakes were not really viable at all. Obviously, Broken Realms book changed that up to snakes being viable. Morathi was almost always in the list, but sometimes wasn't. But predominantly, tournament-winning lists and lists that did well were almost always categorically Hagnar. There was nothing else.
And
Some
Sisters of
people
Slaughter, like everywhere.
Well, actually, the Sisters of Slaughter change came later. Initially, the book worked. It was all witch elves. But as I talked about, when the points went up and up and up, what we saw was eventually someone was like, well, I'll just take Sisters of Slaughter instead, because then also I can run and charge and pile in. Sisters of Slaughter also became quite crucial during the activation wars, because their piling from 6 inches meant that they were able to engage with Keepers of Secrets, bless them, and any of those always strikes first stuff, instead of engage, because they could pile in and therefore avoid striking first at the start of combat, which was super useful. So their popularity rose over time. Initially, they weren't like the done thing in a list, which was kind of interesting.
The skilled players found them and realized that they had big potential, and then everyone else was like, "Oh, surprise, Pikachu!"
Yeah, surprise. Yeah, Merly, thank you for subscribing. Ziggy, lovely to see you. Stu, how are you all? Hey, Speckles. So that's some good context for the book. The book also has always been a melee book. Yes, there was a unit with shooting with the snakes, but they were never particularly strong, and it's the only real shooting unit in the book. Also, Heartrenders were in every list ever. 2x5, they were also super important for grabbing objectives.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and the army
Turn
worked.
5, grab an objective. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, why not, right? Oh, wait, Snipe Bites. I've not joined your stream live ever, despite being a YouTube viewer for 2 years. Hype, fingers crossed for DOK in good shape. Snake Bites, thanks so much, bud. And they are great. They're in a really great place.
Sorry, it's me that you got to see.
Dayton's wonderful. Thanks for being here. So,
Shavehead group.
We're looking good. We're looking really good. Valentine's Day special. We're all looking great. Welcome to the team. So anyway, long story short, they're a combat army. And they're a combat army that really kind of worked around one temple, which was Hagnar. And the main reason for that was the rerollable save on the 5-up DPR, which had made them a super tanky unit. And most
Reroll
importantly,
wounds and battle shock immunity.
Yeah, the battle shock immunity was super, super important. Super, super important. And so those things, we'll talk about that more in a bit. But obviously, it's such an old book, and the Holy Within, when we talk about the book in a bit, the Holy Within, which I know has changed, was an old school like thing where you didn't have to be Holy Within; it was just units within. And that change for that Holy Within, Dayton, what do you think? I know a lot of people are going to feel like they're hard done by that, but I think that is a massive positive for the
Everyone had to expect some changes like that.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that are like a little weird, but we can talk about that. But other than that, everything else should be expected. Sisters of Slaughter stayed. They still kept their 6-inch pylon. That's huge. And the reason why Daughters of Khaine had to adapt is because the Fire Slayers came out and said, you know what, we can do your job better. You want to run into this wall, we will beat you.
Yeah, they did. You're absolutely right. So a quick TLDR, having read the book, before we go through the War Scrolls, I think the book is in an insanely good place. Let's talk about the battle traits for a minute. Number 1, you get a 6+ DPR army-wide, so that's brilliant. And then obviously in Hagnar you can turn that into a 5-up, which is still lol. Still lol. You've got a spell. Let's just talk about battle traits. The Rites of Battle, which is you can reroll ones, reroll ones to run, reroll ones to charge, reroll ones to hit, is like whatever. Like honestly, I feel like it's whatever. Like it's nice. It's a nice bonus, but as like a battle trait, it's fine. Like it doesn't really bother me. Like it's good on an army that mainly hits on 3s for the reroll ones to hit.
So Hagnar
really
loses the reroll all hits.
Yeah, the Hagnar.
That's basically the change.
Yeah,
and then turn 5 is a little better now because they reroll save rolls of 1, which they didn't before.
And they're little clutch, immune to battle shock turn 5. I really like that. I think that's actually pretty key. A DPR, if you guys haven't listened to me before, is a damage prevention roll. There is loads. If you talk to 40k guys, they're going to call it like a feel no pain, or they'll call it disgust and resilience. If you talk to Age of Sigmar guys, they'll be like call it a death save. So just to make it cross-platform, DPR damage prevention. Super easy.
I thought it was like shuttle docking. Double P on P.
Look at this.
Shuttle docking is this, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
can't remember. I can't remember what this one's called.
Right, so now, having read the book, I think the book is in a really, really solid place because unlike the Slaanesh book, which you've obviously read, in comparison, there's something to talk about that in a minute. Unlike the Slaanesh book, all of the abilities lap with each other quite nicely, and they've got loads of pivot. Okay, you want more Rend, you go in Draichi Ganeth. You want more survivable, you're playing Hagnar. Yeah, like you've got lots of options, which I think is actually really, really brilliant. Like, so you can switch between the temples, moving around on the meta, and I think that's quite key. The units are fairly cheap. That's obviously really good. You do have to play Holy Within, which I think is really, really important, like just for the game mechanics generally. Your buffs are quite global, which is quite nice, and that works really well. And you can just kick out a lot of damage in combat, which is important. Because yes, maybe you won't be that, like you arguably aren't maybe the most survivable, but you can smash, and that's important. Whereas on like the Slaanesh book, you can't smash or survive. So there's like in my opinion, this book is in a really great place, like really good on delivery. And also, I'm going to talk about this now. Dayton, have you read between the two? Have you read both books by any chance or not?
I haven't. I just checked the units for Slaanesh. That's it.
Well, okay,
I haven't actually got to read the book.
So honestly, reading through the Daughters of Khaine book is a delight versus reading through the Slaanesh book. The command traits, the artifacts are just so good. The command traits, like, you get this. I'm like, oh my god. Whereas reading through the ones for for Slaanesh is awful. Like, it's an awful experience. Like, you're like, what the fuck is this? Also, like, it's clear, and like this is something for another show because I'd like to just get on with reading the Warscrolls. But it's clear that these two books are written by two different human beings. Like, it's fucking clear, night and day. Right?
You mean this one won't have someone retreat out of a chat group because his feelings are hurt?
You retreat out both. But yeah, but like, it's night and day. And also, there's some massive strengths in this. Spell lore is okay. However, you don't really have any magic doms or any strong magic dominance. So when we get to talking about like Mind Razor, which is one you like to talk about, it's a casting value of 8, and it'll increase your rend, and it will also increase your damage if you charge.
So they changed it up quite a bit. So you can't. It's only on the charge now. So it used to be you had to beat the bravery of the unit to get the +1 damage. So +1 rend you're always going to get. That doesn't change. But if you charge now, you get the +1 damage, which can be good. Except there's a lot of things with this army that want to just pile in and not charge.
I would just fuck it off because truthfully, like, let's do a comparison. I think the smartest comparison to make, here I am making it, so I'll fucking retract that sentence. Like, my comparison is to Blades of Putrefaction. So it's an incredible spell that you find inside Nurgle. Only Nurgle, very much like Daughters of Khaine, don't really have any bonuses to cast and push that out, right? Therefore,
other than Morathi.
Of course, yeah. But
or a general ability.
Yeah, but it's already a high casting value.
Or an artifact.
Yeah.
You're right.
What I mean is not good ones. Not good ones. Yeah, not good ones. It's not +4 to cast, right? It's not like switch up or choose. It's like, it's whatever. Like, and it's an 8. And also, you've also got the opponent who's going to be able to just shut you down. Whether that be because of auto unbinds, which are very all over the place now. We'll ignore Stormcast. We'll pick Tzeentch, which is super popular, and Host Arcanum. So you're gonna get auto unbound 1, 3, and 5. So you're never getting that off. That's not including Destiny dice. So I would just ignore that.
Yeah, you're gonna be spending all your time summoning those slaughter serpents, anyways.
Exactly. So the thing that I love about this is the prayers, because fucking your opponent could do fuck all about that. And you've got incredible prayers, right? You've got reroll wounds, you've got reroll saves. Honestly, like, the prayers are like mint. And most books, like, let's look at the Slaanesh book just come out, don't have access to that. They're like, are my spells good? No. Okay, fuck. Like, Daughters of Khaine are like, I've got some good spells, maybe I cast them, but also, like, which is an opportunity bonus, I see it as. Like, your spell is like that bonus cast, whereas your prayers are like pretty fucking reliable. And you can make them even more reliable, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, let's I really want to focus on the sub-factions, because they're so good.
What, you want to talk about them?
Yeah.
All right, go
Like,
on.
let's just
Do you
go
want to fly
across.
through
Let's just broadly go across. So you got
Okay.
Cauldron. Subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons against all your units.
Amazing.
That's great. Shooting meta, and it's awesome.
And all your
Everyone
characters
gets
are
that.
now -2 to shoot.
Right. That's amazing. Wow, I want to take that. Okay, well, Hagnar. Add 1 to the number of the current battle round that they are in, which is not bad, because you're going to get to that battle shock community a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get a lot of rerolls. That's pretty good. That's good competition. All right, well,
But
how about
most
the Kraith?
importantly, your fanatical faith is a 5+.
Yeah, off your general, which is wholly within 12 now, which is big.
Which is
and
amazing.
You can
Just
now,
means you
but
can
it's a
put
command ability,
Yeah. Go on.
so you got to do that. Yeah, wholly within 12. And then their command abilities, you can add 3 inches to the blood, the cauldron,
Yeah.
or holy unit within 3.
No, you
So
can
that's
do a
pretty good.
charge. +3 to charge.
Yeah. That's huge. Is it +3 charge?
Isn't it?
It's +3 to movement. Move characteristic of the
Oh, right,
cauldron
yes.
of blood. So it's just the cauldron of blood. So it's a 6-inch move. Now you got a 9-inch. You want the cauldron to keep up. It's a weird command ability. And then you got the Kraith. Add, or on a 5-up, your Sisters of Slaughter can attack again.
On a 5-up. Which is like, can I just talk about this for a minute? Can I talk about that one for a minute? Because I actually think that's really important. We talk a lot in Age of Sigmar or in 40k or whatever about fun rules. We're like, hey, like, yeah, I might be able to take my Mega Gargants run in the middle, but I'll have fun. Yeah? And you're like, what's fun? Like, how's that defined, right? Like, and you bring a lot of that to the game yourself most of the time. The rules rarely give you an opportunity to have a great time. The 5-up, very much like the charge from Nighthorn, is like a fun mechanic where it's opportunity. Like
it's the anal clenching 5-up roll that you both are watching.
Right? But you've built that list. Other than that, for that Kraith ability, you're not getting loads out of Kraith. Yeah, so you've basically gone to a tournament and you're like, oh, I'm going to play my Daughters of Khaine, but I fancy having a laugh. I'm just going to take a bunch of units and just roll some 5-ups.
Well,
also, when
they got some neat things. I'm going to interrupt you because it's whatever. You invite me on your show, I'm going to interrupt your show.
Please do.
Their command ability is add 1 to the wound rolls. I think that's pretty good because wounding is what daughters don't do well. Mm-hmm. And their command trait is like one of the coolest ones I've seen in a long time. Where at the end of the combat phase, the general is on the battlefield. If any enemy units were destroyed by attacks made with them, you receive a command point.
Which is also brilliant.
You get those min-max units or armies, you're going to be like just spamming.
Also, if you pile in attacking the hero phase with Morathi, fight in the combat phase with Morathi, and then roll that 5-up on Morathi, you're going to feel like the king did.
It's only Sisters of Slaughters.
Oh, is it only Sisters of Slaughter?
Yeah.
On the 5-up.
It's keyword Sisters of Slaughter. Like that. It's a well-written book. There's no like jank. So you're making a lot of probably minions of Sisters. I don't know. We'll see. It's probably the least of all the sub factions, to be fair. Mm-hmm. But there's still goodness in there. And then the other one is Kelknar, which is units can't retreat or can retreat and still charge, which is huge. It's so much movement.
Amazing, right? Retreat and charge is a brilliant. Like, what I like about this book, which again, if you're a Daughters of Khaine player and you don't feel like you've done very well with this book, you really have to look at some other books. Some other books don't have any of these options. Khorne would fucking eat a heart to be able to have a run and charge command ability somewhere in, let alone a whole sub-faction. Like, that would be so good for them. Like, they need it. And there's so many ways you can pivot, like you say. Fighting
well, let's be
shooting.
fair. It's retreat and still charge.
Yeah, retreat and charge. Yeah.
And that's awesome, because then you're...
And then there's
like
a battalion where you can run and charge.
Yeah. And then they get to bring in a free unit of Canary Harpies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which isn't dictated by round.
Nope.
So you can bring them in on turn 5.
Whenever you like.
Yep. Just within 9 inches. No, anywhere on the battlefield. Yeah. So there you go.
So
you want that deep strike unit? Still there.
I'm a massive fan of Drychi Ganeth, because the Sisters Slaughter get +1 to charge, but you're also able to add 1 to hit rolls for Sisters Slaughter. For Drychi Ganeth.
Improve the Ren characteristic of melee weapons used by Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter when they charge.
From Bladed Killers.
Yeah.
That's, again, amazing. Like brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's really good. Like, I'm super excited about this book because they are going to
so many
smash.
attacks. Now they have red. Like, that was the thing. Like, they didn't have red. You had to get Mind Razor off to give them red. And now you don't have to.
Well, so Parry Gallister makes the point that it's a waste of the pile-in, but it means you just don't get both and you're making the choice. Do I want to pile in from 6 inches?
There's balance in the book. It's a well-written book.
Yeah. It's, like, am I piling in 6 inches and activating and using my ability, or am I, like, you get to sacrifice a bonus, or you can play around trying to achieve that bonus, because that's really on you, right, and how you play. Yeah, so that works.
Colonel Cabbage is salty. Seems like you're putting some salt.
Yeah, he's not really happy about the Slaanesh stuff. Hey Alice, what's going on? Yeah, don't buy the Slaanesh, buy the Daughter.
You got Mega Gargants, Colonel Cabbage, don't worry.
So Calibron have got the teleporters we talked about, and also the -1 to hit from missile weapons, which is huge. Keltnar, they've got the ability to summon a unit, which is really good as well. And then they've also got the Bleed the Mind ability, which is use the command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do so, friendly Keltnar unit wholly within 12. Until your next hero phase, a modified hit roll for an attack made with melee weapon that targets them is a 1. The attacking unit suffers a mortal wound, which is great. Yeah, that's again a cool little ability. A unit of Heartrenders, you charge them in. You make your opponent with like Plague Monks or something with 1 billion attacks hit itself to death, which is great. Great into Mortek, which suffer into mortals a lot of the time. Yeah, really good. Obviously, if your opponent's then got the ability to re-roll 1s, it kind of flips around. But like, it's a nice little ability, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. Every one of those sub-factions is amazing.
Yeah,
and then if you don't want to take any of the sub-factions, you can the command traits are decent too. If you just want to make one.
I mean, I don't know why I would give up the sub-factions, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some top-line stuff as well. Ultimately, one of the power pieces in the book, which is Hagnar, which is that 5-up Fanatical Faith roll, and the ability to re-roll it, is still inside this book. Now, yes, it's wholly within 12 inches, and in order to do the prayer, you've got to be like wholly within 14 inches. But still, that's incredible. A 5-up re-rollable DPR save on a brick of 30 ladies, which cost fucking no pennies. They're like 100 points apiece, is a joke. It's so good. Like, brilliant.
That's like,
huh?
Should we talk about the brew?
About the what?
The Witch's Brew.
Oh, yeah, sure. We can. Let's, we'll jump over to look at some of the wars.
Because that's probably one of the biggest changes too, right?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Hag Queen, right?
Not a guarantee.
Yeah. So, the Hag Queen's got a 5-up save, and he's 5 wounds each. Don't forget, though, that's not very survivable. That's normally an issue. But because of Fanatical Faith, that's going to be a 6-up DPR. And in Hagnar, could be even more survivable. Of course, if not in Hagnar, the other key point to point out is you could be -2 to be shot and some other stuff, right? Like, there's some survivability there. So which brew has changed? Do you want to take us through it, Dan?
Sure. At the start of the hero phase, you can pick one friendly Daughters of Khaine unit wholly within 12 inches of this model to drink the brew. It's almost, you can't string them out as much. Because before it was within 3. It was limiting anyways. You had to always keep those Hag Queens really quick or close, and it's actually screwed me in a couple games. Whereas wholly within 12 might be better. Mm-hmm. If you do so, roll a die, adding 1 to the roll for each of the following abilities that this model has gained. Headlong Fury, Zealot's Rage, and Slaughterer's Strength. So those are all associated with the abilities for the round. So later on, the further into the round, the more off this is going to proc.
Yeah.
So it starts off on a 5-up. You get reroll wound rolls, which is what they had before. Mm-hmm. And in addition, on a 5-up, do not take battle shock tests. So is it just one die roll, or are you rolling for each one?
No, you're just rolling 1. I think
it's the in addition. In addition makes it.
In addition. So really what you're looking... And here's where it gets quite interesting, is because you get the reroll wound rolls, already a huge positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a 5-up, you're immune to battle shock. So your immune to battle shock is a bonus. And unlike other armies, previously, Daughters of Khaine didn't have to rely on their CP being used for immune to battle shock. So welcome to the fucking team, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you've actually got to spend a CP for some... But let's talk about them Witch Elves again. Like, oh no, they're not immune to battle shock. And yes, their bravery is fairly low. It's not that low. They have bonuses, but they've got a 5-up rerollable DPR save, and they're 100 points for 10. They're cheap as fuck. Like,
yeah, they lose their bonus now for
Yeah.
stacking max units, but they're so
Yeah.
cheap. And the amount of points you're saving from all your characters that you take, because this is a very character-heavy army, you want all that stuff. Everything drops so many points. It's crazy.
Yeah, so she's herself, she's whatever in combat. In your hero phase, you can chant one of the following prayers. So she obviously can do a prayer as well, which happens on a 3-up. So she's got Rune of Khaine and Touch of Death, and she obviously can take the other prayers. And this is why you're going to see Hag Queens in every list, because they're going to do Witch Brew, which is a buff, and then they're going to do they're going to do either reroll saves, or they're going to do reroll to wound, reroll hits. Sorry. Like they're gonna be in a list. You're gonna see a couple of them, and they're also,
they still get the Blessed of Khaine, which is big.
Yeah, and they're super
Really fanatical roll.
Yeah, super cheap. Yeah. I mean, even a 6-up, even a 6-up rerollable is a thing. Yeah, like fishing for those 6-ups is especially.
And their prayers are still 3-ups.
And their prayers are still 3-ups. Yeah, although there are ways to improve that. So it's just great. I love it.
Yes.
So yeah, big fan of the Hag Queen, and I think all that's happened here... Oh, can we also talk about the win percentage for Daughters of Khaine really quickly for a moment?
Yep.
Daughters of Khaine never dropped below a 55% win rate. Never. Like, not once. Like, what meta are they being pushed into now? Great question. Like, can they fight
They didn't
for
make
Iceland?
the top 8 of Hammer Time 7.
They did not. No, they didn't. But since the Morathi book, they have taken out a GT in real life. So they
did. They did make... Sorry, there is one list that made it... I think. Is there? I gotta check that out now. Continue. Sorry.
So yeah, so really good Hag Queen. Like again, that 5-up save, 5 wounds. That's going to be tough for a frontline character who's going to run up. But the frontline character isn't going to be behind 10 Bliss Barb archers for 150 points.
Sorry, Leonardo Adam Lopez. You are ranked 7 in Daughters of Khaine. So he's playing against Lumineth next weekend.
Oh, so Owen has just done us a favour and crunched all the data on 11 months of TTS Daughters of Khaine information. 58% win rate.
He's my Valentine's. He's everyone's Valentine's. I can't. No one man can fulfill him.
So that's the Hag Queen. So Hag Queen Pro. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, there's been some changes. Yes, arguably it's a little bit worse, but it's an amazing thing to have in the army. And before it was just dumb. So whatever. Let's talk about. We got to quickly talk about Shadow Queen, the Morathi. So again, if you've not ever touched Daughters of Khaine for any reason at all, Daughters of Khaine is the Shadow Queen or Morathi is 2 models that get on the board that can only take 3 wounds per player turn, maximum. Doesn't matter what other janky stuff you ever try and organize. There's no other way around it. Only 3, so she's going to survive. So if you do 3 wounds to her every player turn, she'll survive for a total of 2 battle rounds. Well, she won't survive. She'll die at the end of that battle round. So an incredible buff piece. Has an amazing command ability, of course, from Little Morathi, which is wholly within 24 inches, and make a unit fight or shoot in the hero phase, which is super, super important. Really good. Obviously, you could do it on Morathi herself, which is pretty terrifying. The Shadow Queen, like the actual snake version, which is more of a combat beast, is a great wizard. If we go into talking about the wizard for a moment, Morathi Khaine, she can cast 2 spells. Cast 3, unbind 2. So even if you don't get Mind Razor off, you just got a wizard who's going in your list anyway for 600 points. And you just
+1 to cast,
out.
+1 to spell.
+1 to cast, +1 to dispel. Can try and unbind 2 spells. And yeah, a Daughters of Khaine unit, wholly in 24, can shoot or fight if it's within 3 inches. You can shoot or fight if it's within 3 inches, which is so amazing. Because you basically get a free hero phase pilot, like activation, right?
And stalkers are 24-inch range with their bows, which is massive.
Yeah. So, anything. Witch elves, anything. It doesn't matter. It's like you're doubling how it works. It's super powerful, and it's why you see it all the time. What's hilarious about this versus a Keeper of Secrets is 24 inches. Keeper of Secrets is and also it's on a model that can't die. So I include 340 points of Keeper of Secrets. It can just get taken off by a gunboat anytime, any day. Yeah, this will not die. You have the ability to do this until at least turn 3. Yeah, well, turn 2. So, like, amazing, right? It's just so good. Obviously, people want to talk about the spear. Dayton, do you want to quickly catch us up on the spear?
the Heartrender. She got the Archeon, Slayer of Kings treatment. Her massive godlike weapon is now only Ren -1. So, I mean, you're piercing the hearts of Marauders, not Skanks. Skanks will bounce that off. You're not piercing Skanks. You're not piercing any important character. So,
I mean, it's a weird change. Little side note for everyone at home, little quick one. This is fun. So it got changed in Broken Realms, and then it got changed in this. So that means, was the Daughters of Khaine book actually going to come out before Broken Realms, and then Broken Realms was going to increase her rend, if that makes sense, by this. But then, like, the weird, like, is it Ren 1, is it Ren 2? It's not the real question. The real question is the Seraphon Battle Tome got an FAQ where they put the price of salamanders up from 80 points to 110. In the winter FAQ, that was or wasn't, depending on your feelings, it turns out that they deleted that. So the real question is not whether or not Morathi is Ren 1 or Ren 2, but whether salamanders are 110 points or 80 points. Dayton, you're choosing one?
Yeah, salamanders. Salamanders for these. The one thing, too, they dropped the points of Blood Sisters by 10 points. So that is cheaper than the Broken Realms. So if the Broken Realms came out after this book, they would have changed that back.
So we just got to wait for the FAQ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Why? Like, -2 is not game breaking. It's very typical.
But Shadow Queen, 600 points. Like, you absolutely probably are going to see her included in every list. And I would say that one of the main reasons, other than she's a brilliant caster, amazing. She's amazing in the fight, great. That command ability is a stackable, like, whether or not you want Morathi to just activate on her own and just pile and attack twice, whatever, or you want to, as a buff piece, brilliant. Like, and undying, right? So she does all of the things. She's the exact opposite of, like, Glottos, if we're doing, like, a kind of direct comparison. Glottos or the Keeper of Secrets, or the Keeper of Secrets isn't really meant to be at that level, but it's like a god. It's a buff
400
piece.
points.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's a buff piece that also, like, is a force multiplier and is also a damage output and is also a tank. It fulfills also a magic like dealer and like an unbinder. She brings all of the roles. It would be impossible.
She's a complication to your plans, is what she does.
Yeah,
it's something that you just can't delete. You have to deal with her for a few turns. But then again, if you don't take her, you're getting 600 points, and with all the points you save with the characters on the Cauldrons, you can just have a couple Cauldrons and get a lot more sisters.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I mean, the Cauldrons are so cheap now.
Yeah, I would agree with Owen in the chat that she is actually a unique piece. She's also the same price as Alarielle, so that's fun. Right, okay, let's talk about the Bloodwreck Shrine, right? 13 wounds with only a 5 up save. So you got this is the Medusa on top, right? And you get some stuff for that. It means it's a wizard, but can only cast 1 spell, but can attempt to unbind 2. And it's got a cool spell, which is cast on a 5, which is subtract wound rolls from enemy units within 18 inches, which is quite nice if you're looking to stack some sort of survivability in your army. And it's cast on a low casting value, so you're more likely to get it off. Your opponent can also try and stop it as well, but super good.
She can deny 2 spells.
She can deny 2 spells. Yeah. Yeah. So she does impact hits on the charge. And then so she's also got the shooting attack, which does a shooting. So do not use the attack sequence for the shooting attack. And then instead roll a number of dice equal to the number of models for the target that are in range of the attack, and for each 5+ it takes a mortal wound. And it's 12-inch range.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's brilliant.
She's a huge base too, right?
Yeah, huge.
She's 13 wounds. She's got a 5-up save. She's 160 points. It's ridiculous.
Off. Is that true? 160 points.
Yes. That's what I mean. The
It's
characters
the same as
are
10
so
Blitzbarb
cheap.
archers. It's the same as...
And she's, it's ridiculous.
Oh, Tree Lord is 180. Oh my god. Yeah, this is hilarious. If you're comparing these two books together, it's such a fun ride. Because they're just wild, right? She's 10 points less than Twin Souls. Oh my god. 13 wounds with a 5-up armor save is a bit rough, but she's what movement?
She's 160 points. Let her fucking die. Who cares?
She's really fucking slow. Have you seen how slow she is?
Yeah, all the shrines are 6 inches.
Oh, that's rough.
They're brutal. That's why that one Hagnar one allows you to add 3 inches to that. So it's rough. Kind of something.
Now, that's
You're running them all the time for the most part to keep up with the army.
Wow, that's rough. That is rough.
Their big base makes it a little easier, but yeah.
So can she slap in combat? She got 3 attacks, 3 threes, and 1d3 damage. Not bad. A bunch of other shitty attacks.
She could do mortal wounds with one of her attacks, I think.
Yeah, with the Whisper
bladed
Claw.
Yeah, Whisper Claw. Yeah.
Yeah, which is 4 attacks. And it's to Whisper Claw is it to hit? It's to hit as well. Ooh, baby. Yeah, this is great. Down from 220. This is nuts. She's 160.
That's how you get skanks. Honestly, with that ranged attack.
Well, the Blood Rack Stare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I mean that.
Skanks.
I mean the 5-up save's rough. The 5-up save is rough. Like this thing can just go down, but it's cheap as fuck. So
she's 160 points. Yeah, who cares? Let her die. There's 2 more behind her.
This is SFO Mongoose says, as someone who owns a Daughters of Khaine army and is starting the Slaanesh army this weekend, it's been a roller coaster. Wow, 160 points. Okay, brilliant. It's in the Slaughter Queen, 5 wounds, 5-up save. It's got a command ability. You use command ability once per turn. Your hero phase. If you do so, you pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine unit that is not fought that phase. It's wholly within 12 inches of this model, and within 3 inches enemy units can fight again. So this is pretty cool as well, because that is another pile in attack. So you can use command ability once per turn in your hero phase. So it's the same as Morathi, but it's much shorter range. Yep. You probably won't see this played, but she can also pray. So she's a priest, so you can do a pray, which is good. And
she can deny spells too.
And she can deny spells as well. So maybe you'll see it, but maybe you won't. So, like whatever. You buy it with the box anyway, so that's not really an issue. You don't really need to talk about that too much.
Can she? She used to be able to deny spells.
I don't know if she can now. Hold on, let me just double check. Let me go through the abilities. She's got down to do.
Her on a shrine is now 50 points cheaper.
We'll talk about that in a minute. How much is a Slaughter Queen? Is the big question.
100 points.
Oh my god!
That hasn't changed. The ones on foot didn't change in points. It's just the ones on cauldrons went.
Marauders in Slaanesh do not get exploding 6s to hit. To answer a question in the chat, because they don't get the Hedonites keyword. They only get the Slaanesh keyword. Slaanesh keyword does mean that they can be taken inside the Hedonites book, but it means they don't get access to the ability, which only affects Hedonites of Slaanesh, which they don't get by becoming Slaanesh.
Refresh my memory. How do you get the -1 for being a character when you're close to a unit? But if you're a monster keyword, you lose it?
You have to be within 3 inches of a unit of 10, or a unit of 10.
And is that if you're monster,
you just don't get it.
Right? Are cauldrons monsters?
No, the keyword. Let me go find out. It's 3 or more models. Thank you very much. It's not 10 models. It's 3 or more models. And the cauldron is not a monster, which is nice.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they could potentially be -2 to hit. So it doesn't even matter about their 5-up save.
So the Blood Rack Shrine is going to get Lookout Sir.
Yeah. Wow. Why wouldn't it? It's not a monster, right?
Wow. Wee wah. To quote Borat. Wait, hold on. Let me just double check something here as well. So Morathi's command ability Morathi's command ability is coming out of
the human version,
little one. So that's worship through bloodshed. So that's the piling attack in the hero phase. And then let me just read it. This model's on the battlefield. Pick one friendly Daughters of Khaine unit wholly in 24 in this model. That unit can shoot or fight if it's within 3 inches of any units it can fight. So that's in the hero phase. You cannot use this command ability more than once in the same phase. However, the Slaughter Queen, let's go find out. Wherever she is. is you can use command ability once per turn in the hero phase, which is Orgy of Slaughter, which is a different command ability. Pick one friendly Daughters of Khaine unit that has not fought in that phase. So you can't use both at the same time. But you can use one and then the other. So if you did have 2 units of Witch Elves engaged in a fight, or Morathi could make a self-fight, and then the Slaughter Queen could make another unit fight in the hero phase. So that would be 2 Parlins in the hero phase. I don't think you'll see the Slaughter Queen much, but whatever.
She can, she can kill. She's a little bit more combat-y, so if you want a Cauldron that's going to be a little bit more engaged in fighting, they're pretty good. Because you can turn...
Go on, carry on.
Yeah, and you can pump her blades up.
So one of the things to talk about, thank you, Planchette, is obviously actually you could do it, both those command abilities on the same unit, but you would just do the Slaughter Queen first and then you would do Morathi second. So it's about activation. Thank you very much, chat. Love you all. Thanks for being here. Happy Valentine's. So then you've got the Slaughter Queen on Cauldron of Blood, which is basically a Cauldron, again, giving out all of its buffs. And it's got 13 wounds, 5 up save. It's that rough movement 6. That's super harsh.
Yep.
That's super harsh.
But now it shoots, and it's got a way more melee attacks with the avatars.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about these. So you got bladed impact, so they do mortal wounds when they hit. They've got blood shield, which is super important. The range of this model's blood shield is shown on its damage table, and you add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target friendly Daughters of Khaine units where they're wholly within range of.
So these ones are 4-ups, not 5-ups.
Yeah, so they'll be on 4-ups, not 5-ups, and that blood shield is 18 inches, wholly within 18
on a massive base.
It does get lower as time goes on. So 14
sure, it's -1 to hit though.
It is -1 to hit.
With a 4-up save. With 13 wounds. For 270 points.
So Slaughter Queen on Cauldron is 270 points.
Yep. They used to be 330. It's a 50-point drop.
And the reason Dayton is bringing up the fact that they get lookouts and the fact that they're going to be -1 to hit from shooting. The shooting is obviously really prevalent in the game. And I still think that 13 wounds on a 5-up save could be tough, but I think it gives itself the blood shield, so it'll end up on a 4-up save.
4-up.
Yeah, so it'll have a 4-up save. And one of the big issues that you are going to see is dealing with this at range, because dealing with it in melee is going to be an issue, because you have to go through 60 to 90 nutters with blades to get to the buff piece. So you're going to want to try and deal with it at range, and you might be able to deal with it at range. There's a lot more shooting than when Daughters first came out.
Unless you take that one sub-faction where it's -1 to hit versus range attacks, that's -2.
And it's 2s. Yeah. So you do have to. So you do have to have a kind of as a Daughters of Khaine list writer, you've got to ask yourself. And what's really nice is you don't have to do anything about this. You can just either go for the -1 to hit sub-faction, or you can go for Hagnar and go for more survivable. Right?
It's 5 a.m. for me, okay? So I can't math well at 5 a.m. Yes, it's a 60-point drop, not 50.
Grinaldi asks, why does a naked lady in a shrine get lookouts and Wizard Cart does not? The real question is, why haven't we had a dispossessed battle tome yet? Is the real question, and that's all I want to know. So then you got the Idol Worship, which is add 1 to bravery characteristics of friendly Daughters of Khaine while they're wholly within 12 inches of the model. It's not going to come up much, but that's useful.
It's more significant now because the brews are less, they're not guarantees. Mm-hmm. I think Battle Shock is actually going to be a legit thing in this, because you're still going to want the big units of sisters.
I agree. I agree with you.
Stay hydrated, everyone.
Please do. Always do. So the model can attempt to unbind a wizard, unbind a spell like a wizard. You've also got the priest. So she's also a priest, of course, so she can attempt to do 1 prayer.
2.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, because when they take the other prayer, they can do that one too.
Right, so you can do on 2. So 2 prayers coming out of the Slaughter Queen on Cauldron of Blood. So as
you're mostly trying to activate her avatar with the Wrath of Khaine.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about how good she is as a buff piece anyway, because how incredible is that, right? So
+1 save.
+1 save, which is just amazing. Bravery, and of course can also do the prayers and buffs. So whatever you would spend on that Hag on foot. Although Hag has got the Witch Proof, so you're still going to take that. Anyway, and then you've got the Rune of Khaine, which is if this prayer is answered until your hero phase, the model's blades do D3 damage, whatever. You've got Touch of Death, which is the one we talked about before. And you've got Wrath of Khaine. If your army includes Avatars of Khaine, friendly Daughters of Khaine priests can chant the following prayer, animated Pick one friendly Avatar of Khaine on the battlefield until your next hero phase. The Avatar of Khaine is
like turn 4.
animated. This model cannot attack with its torrents of bone and blood. So say that again, Dayton.
It's turn 3 or turn 4. The avatars all kick in. I think it's turn 3. They all kick in anyways.
Yeah.
So in the first couple turns, because it's a range attack, that's what you're going to be getting off of it. And if it's in combat, it's 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 and 3 damages. No joke. So you'll be activating that. Can we talk about their endless prayer? The heart of Khaine for 80 points. Is it going to be used? Because this is where you get your priestess, because they're going to try to summon it, right?
Okay, let's talk about
-1 damage for 80 points, wholly within 12.
So the Heart of Fury.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is,
and it's a priest, so you can't.
Not,
it won't be denied.
Yeah. So it's a prayer. It's an invocation or whatever they call it, right? Yeah. So invocation of Khaine. So and it gives a -1 damage bubble for units wholly within 12.
Yep. Can we talk about too when we mentioned these endless spells? I think we discussed, and I asked whether they're going to be prayers or they're going to be spells. They're both.
They're both.
But are you going to do it for 80 points?
So are you gonna make your army -1 and
damage?
Does it go away? Let me just at the end of each
battle round.
Add 1 to the roll. So on a 1 to 3, this model is removed from the battlefield. However, it happens on a 1 to 3, it goes away. 4, 5, 6, it stays. However, if you do have an Avatar of Khaine on the battle within 6 inches of it, then it goes away on a 1 and 2, and it stays on a 3, 4, 5, 6. So, are you going to take it for 80 points? It's a great question. It's a huge buff piece, right?
Yeah, so if you get near your cauldrons that they're trying to snipe out because of all the buffs, that's potential.
Yeah, in your hero phase, 1 friendly daughters. Oh, hold on. It's subtract 1 from the damage inflicted. It's 2 and 1 by each attack.
For each attack,
wholly within 12 inches of this model.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't need to put it near the enemy. You put it near your own unit.
Yeah, and a lot of KO is damage to shooting. So that'd be significant.
That would be significant. But the thing is it's like it depends how low a drop an army you can produce. The battalions are quite nice, ultimately, and again they're pointed quite low. So really, you're going to want to try and outdrop some of these well-performing shooting armies. Kharadron Overlords is an example. Seraphon are really high drops. That's not really much of an issue most of the time, although there are some builds which aren't. But
Daughters of Khaine have never been like a low drop army, and I don't think they ever. If this book doesn't fix that.
No, but they were taking battalions. We did see Slaughter Troop play quite a lot. We saw that quite a lot. Sometimes we would see Cauldron Guard. So you would see some battalions taken, and therefore you would bring their drops lower. Whether or not it could drop lower than like some of the like competitive shooting armies is the real question, which is of course KO. Is kind of my point. And of course you're never going to outdrop Teclis and his boys because it's Teclis plus the Arulian Legion is the way it's played, and sometimes it's just the Arulian Legion plus some stuff. So I don't think you're going to outdrop them. And so really, are you going to, for 80 points, are you going to get this prayer off? Is the question before your opponent can deal with you? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's the aura is limiting. 12 inches, wholly within 12 is going to be hard to do with this army because you're going to have such big blobs. But I guess I could see it on the Cauldrons. Or Morathi? Are you going to try to hit her? But yeah, I don't know. 80 points is tough. Whereas the Vipers, you're going to take every time for 40 points.
Yeah, the Viper, we'll talk about this real quickly. It's summoned on a 7. You set it up within 9 inches of the caster. This model set up, player who set up can immediately move it. Yeah, does it say how far it moves?
9 inches.
So it moves 9 inches. Okay, so 18-inch range initially, and after this model is moved, the player can pick 1 unit within 1 inch, so it's going to have a 20-inch effective range for each roll that is equal to or greater than the wounds characteristic. 1 model from the unit slain. That's great as well, because it's going to be able to...
you can snipe characters.
Yeah, you can snipe characters. I think the most important point is you're going to be able to break cohesion with that for 40 points. That's really, really important. So you're going to be able to pick out maybe even 2 and break the cohesion on a screen or a line. That's going to be really important as well for those 150-point Blitzbarb archers who are stood in a line. So that's going to be rough for those guys. So yeah,
Blood Rat Viper. Unit. So when you're assigning wounds, isn't it up to the owners?
After this mod's moved, pick a unit within 1 inch. So not a model.
It's not a model.
Yeah, so it's not going to do everything I just said. rewind. Yeah,
I got it, Charlie. Just
so I appreciate that. Yeah. So no, you're not going to be able to do that. I'm less bothered about that then. Like for 40 points, maybe I take an opportunity cost spell.
It's 40 points.
Yeah, but it's cast on a 7.
Your heroes are immune because they're going to be on cauldrons, so you're never going to get sniped.
Nah,
and there's a lot of five wound generals, and you got 3 dice. You can get a 6 out of 3.
I'm a lot less interested in it now. Like I'm a lot less interested. Now it's medium range. It's 20 inches max. Like
brutes for 3 wounds. All those gores that you're going to see from from Slaanesh, those could be sniped out.
I just want to cast other spells. Like it might be there, but like I'm a
lot
less
points.
interested. It is cheap. Like, but like if it can't break adhesion, I'm less interested. And let's talk about Blade Wind really quickly. So this is cast on a 7. You set it up within 9 inches of the caster, and it moves 12 inches. So you've got an effective threat range there. Well, it moves 21 inches basically. And then after this model is moved, each unit that has any models pass across it. The unit, it's within 1 inch at the end of its move. It suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, do not apply cover modifiers for save rolls that attack this target within 12 inches model. I'm less bothered about this either.
Yeah, you're not really gonna take it.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking model, but yeah, that's about it. You know what else can I say? It's 6 a.m. and I'm not drunk. That's way different than last Sunday.
I'm so proud of you. All right, so let's rattle through so those are the Endless Prayers. Slaughter Queen on Cauldron we've talked about as well. Incredible buff piece, especially for that points crossed. Blood Rat Medusa's got 6 wounds with a 5-up save and moves 8 inches. Got that stare for doing the mortal wounds as well, and it's not too bad in the fight.
But for 160 points, you're just taking it on the
Cauldron.
Oh, sorry, Blood Rat Medusa.
So hold on, let me just talk about the Medusa.
Yeah.
So you've got the same thing, got the attacks, got the shooting attack, which is if you manage to get them within range, so you can stare as many units to death as possible. And then there's a wizard who obviously can cast can cast 1 and unbind 1, and has obviously got that enfeebling spell, which is the -1 to wound rolls. Now, something to talk about, Dayton, we haven't talked about yet, is the stacking. So the -1 to wound coming in from the Heart of Khaine. Is it called the Heart of Khaine?
Yeah, Avatar or whatever, yeah.
Heart of Fury. And then also the -1 coming in from the Blood Rat Medusa. So you could comfortably make a unit be -2 to wound against your enemy, which is nice.
No, so the prayer is damage. It's -1 damage.
-1 damage.
Whereas the Blood Rat Medusa is -1 to wound.
Yeah. Okay,
but I mean, we talked about it already. For 60 points more, you're giving her 7 more wounds with more melee attacks.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're not going to see her on foot as much anymore. You're going to see her on a shrine.
Can the cart cast spells? Hold on, let me just double check.
Yep. Yeah, she still has the 1 spell. It's the exact same War Scroll. It just gets the bonuses for the impact hits and the girls on the shrine.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. It's okay. We've only all read these over the weekend. We're all learning still. So yeah, you would just take her on the cart, like you say. Absolutely. But the -1 to wound, plus the -1 damage is some pretty significant buffs, ultimately, or debuffs to your opponent.
But it's a spell, and in a spellcasting meta, are you going to get it off?
Well, at least it's easy to cast. Whether or not you're then it's going to get a bind is a whole different conversation. But yeah, you're right. Right, let's talk about our Witch Elves. They move 6. They got a wound each. They've only got a 6-up save. If you take bucklers, you're going to add 1 to save rolls if you do take a bladed buckler. So I think you're going to do that every time. And then if you do fight them around a cauldron, that's going to give you a 4-up armor save on these Witch Elves, which are 100 points.
Witch Elves?
Is,
that never gets old.
Witch Elves? They've also got add +1 to wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by this unit while it's wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Daughters of Khaine heroes. Now, that's harder to achieve, right? Again, for reasons that we've talked about before. Unless you have this indestructible snake that's going to go right with them. And then
so it used to be they got an extra attack. Now it's +1 to wound.
Yeah. So they've got, and then if they get a pair of knives as opposed to drop the buckler, you're going to add +1 to the attacks characteristic. So hitting on 3s, wound on 4s. no rend, 1 damage. Now, obviously, there's ways to give them rend. There's ways to give them rerolls to wound. This is the fascinating part about reading.
And you're rerolling ones to hit.
Yeah, this is the fascinating thing about reading the Slaanesh book and then reading this book, is you look at the War Scroll and you think, meh, yeah, in some ways, right? Although it's cheap, it's 100 points. But then there are loads of ways to buff them. You can reroll to wound. You can reroll ones to hit. You can add rend. You can add +1 damage. Yeah, you can do loads of things. You can give them plus save, rerollable saves. Like, you can do loads to buff this piece so it's way better. But you can't do that in Slaanesh at all. You can't do that at all. Like, there's nothing.
It's better shooting in this book too.
Yeah. Pete says, I think there's a lot to be said for double knife units. Now, MSU with knives in Drychi Ganeth would be double knives will blend. I agree with that absolutely.
With -1 rend.
With -1 rend, you would add +1 attack, so they'd be hit on 3s. If you could ever get a cheeky Mind Razor off, they would be blending through stuff. And again, like Pete points out, they're super cheap. Even as a screen, 10 Witch Elves is 100 points. You're fine with that. For like,
so you lost an attack and you lost 20 points off of a unit. I'll take it.
I think it's better for the book. I think it's better because, like, again, if we do the Slaanesh comparison, they don't have the cheap screen unit. Like, they don't. The best they've got is Demonettes, and these guys are better than Demonettes because you can buff them better. So yeah, Witch Elves, excellent. I think for 100 points, really good. Let me just find the.
And you always took there was always like a unit of 10 of them for objectives that you had in your army to round out the battle line. So now it's only 100 points.
But now you don't have to. Now you can just take 3 bricks of 30 if you want and just smash face because they're 100 points.
They're in a tough competition with Sisters of Slaughter because I think that 6-inch pile-in is massive.
Well, we've seen that played a lot, and we'll talk about why in a moment. So, we're talking about them now. So they've got the same profile, move 6, 1 wound, 6 up save. The important point, and obviously if they've got the bladed bucklers, they're going to add +1 to that save. And if they're making a save,
you pretty much always see the bladed bucklers.
Always do. And then, of course, if you hit them, any 6s, I mean, they're basically play touch warband by existing. It's in their War Scroll. Any 6s to hit. Is it 6s to hit with this weapon? In addition, no, any save you make of a 6. Sorry, so not quite the same. But any save you make of a 6, you get to dish back a mortal wound as well.
They run and charge. They reroll their battle shock.
So they don't run and charge, do they? That's not in there.
Hornblower.
Yeah, they run and charge, and of course you can then also pile in 6 inches as well, right? So, wait, does witches run and charge?
Yep.
Hornblower.
Their Hornblower does the same thing.
Just double check that. Okay, so yeah, both units are going to run and charge, so they're better than Demonettes. Well, Demonettes run and charge as well. Like, they're great. They're really good, both of these units, and they've got the good pile-in from 6 inches as well. So
they're 25 mil bases, and they have a 2-inch range on their barbed whips.
Mm-hmm. Which is 2 attacks each, 3s, 4s, no rend. Of course, you could make them have rend. You could make them do extra damage. You could do. There's a load of buffs. Again, you can get them to a 4-up save. Again, you can get them rerolling saves. So huge. Rerolling to wound. And again, really good. But they're now. How many points are they now?
They're the same, but they lose their bonus for max units. 120 points.
See, I'd still be tempted by Witch Elves. I don't think the pile-in's that big a deal for me. Maybe, but
I think it is, which is great because we don't have to agree.
yeah, exactly.
But we've seen it used so many times where you just in your turn you retreat them. You retreat them 4 inches away from an enemy unit, and in your last activation, you're going to pile in an attack with them. The guy doesn't get to attack back.
It's true. But you don't. But that's a good point for Planchette. You don't get Mind Razor, but I'm not too bothered about Mind Razor. I think Mind Razor is a buff that
you're not getting Mind Razor off anyways.
Like, Mind Razor is going to be hard to achieve in the meta generally. So I think it's more of see Mind Razor as a bonus that you could achieve as opposed to something to play for, I would say. Hey Valentine, haven't seen the Slaanesh show. Quick question: which book do you guys prefer out the Hedonites of Slaanesh or Daughters of Khaine? Daughters of Khaine, A Country Mile, because very much like some of the other books we've seen written previously, we said this earlier in the show, they seem to be written by 2 different people, and whoever wrote this really understood the game and was understanding not only what's nice about this book is not only were they understanding what they needed to make the book better, they also understood what they needed to do to make the book maybe a bit fairer, the Holy Withins. Right. Like, this book is a stronger book if you play it better.
It's not just chasing the hobby meta.
Yeah.
It's actually competing too.
the Hedonites of Slaanesh book, like some of them are like, someone said this yesterday, and I think it's super fair. The Slangor is like a travesty. Like in 2021, to write a war scroll that just doesn't function in the game is ludicrous. Not including just the points costs, of course, and the locus. And that book has an identity issue straight down, and I'm sure Vince is going to talk about this in detail. But the Hedonites of Slaanesh has an identity issue. It doesn't understand itself. It doesn't know how it plays, and it doesn't know what it wants to do. You see that in the battalions. You see that in the points costs. You see that in the war scrolls. You see that in the command abilities. Most importantly, you see that in the sub-factions. What's so good, like Dayton said a minute ago, about this book is if I want to pivot with this army, I've got my collection of Daughters of Khaine. I'm like, this is cool. And I'm like, oh, shooting's loads now. Oh, I'll take the non-shooting sub-faction. Yeah, or actually, I really want to just try and play Kraith and proc loads of 5s. Your collection, just by playing different sub-factions, is 5 or 6 armies. As opposed to, when you play Hedonites of Slaanesh, your collection is just 1. And you're like, which one of the Keepers of Secrets I don't want am I buffing with the 3? With the 3 different sub-factions. So this is a really great book. If I was a Daughters of Khaine player, I'd be happy.
Yeah, and we are. It's awesome because we were worried that when this book came out, it was going to be nerfed, and instead they just added more variety to it and changed up a bit. It's exactly what we wanted from an FAQ.
Yeah. Right.
We're not doing that again. We're not doing it again. That sent Rob down the toilet for like a week.
So Valentine makes a point about the summoning as well. Isn't the summoning really powerful? There may be some like janky summoning lists from Slaanesh. Janky. I'd like to point out that that's weird, though, that's like your gimme, if that makes sense. You've got this book of beautiful models, right? Beautiful, beautiful models, yeah, that they've released. And they go, okay, if I take a bunch of spawn and a Fumroid Crusher and stick it around my own terrain piece and destroy it, I can summon some Demonettes. And none of that is attractive, other than the Fumroid Crusher. That's a pretty model, yeah, but not from the Slaanesh release. Spawn, awful looking, not from the Slaanesh release. Around a terrain piece, it could be a Fane or whatever. Yeah, so that is true. And then I can summon some Demonettes, which are fugly. Like, that's a horrible, like, gimme to, like, a Slaanesh player. It's like, I love the new release. It's like, well, don't buy any of that. Have you thought about buying some of the ugliest models in the game? Because here you are. Welcome to Chaos. Anyway.
They got some pretty units.
They've got beautiful
nice
units.
New models.
Beautiful units. And honestly, if they did make some of them cheaper, there would be some play. But like Bliss Barb's 100. The Sick Blades need to be like, I don't know, 160 or something. Anyway, because you can't buff the book. Never mind. We're talking about this book.
Just imagine if we didn't have Daughters of Khaine dropped at the same time.
It would be weird, right?
We would think they were losing their touch. And instead, we're just confused, like we always are.
Right, so Heartrenders, taking in loads of different books. So 14-inch move. They've got that 6-up save and only 1 wound. They are able to turn that into a 5-up save. And I did talk yesterday, obviously. So one of the comparisons, if you listen to both shows, is going to be me talking about how the 5-up save on Slaanesh is meh, and the 5-up save here is fine. And that's because these are just so much cheaper, right?
They dropped 10 points too.
Yeah, they're just so much cheaper. Like you're almost you're getting 50% more out of a Daughters of Khaine army, basically.
But they didn't really change much except for dropping 10 points. Other than that, they stayed the same. But the whatever they are, the other version, the melee version, what are they called? Life Takers. Yeah. Life Takers did change.
Yeah, we'll talk about those now. Can I just thank Magic Thompson for subscribing and also Aztec Ace for subscribing? First time. That's lovely of you. Big love to you. Welcome to the gang.
I'm only here on Sundays. Don't worry. The rest of the show is really good.
I thought you were about to say all the other shows are shit.
No, come on. I'm not that
Apart from Monday. Monday's got Owen on. And then Monday night's got Nathan and James and Dan. And then Nick's on a Thursday and Tom's on a Thursday. So actually, every show other than those is rubbish. Okay. So the Heartrenders haven't changed, but like Grinaldi has said in the chat, taken in every single list, specifically because of the descend to battle. If you didn't know, instead of placing this unit on the battlefield, you can place it to one side, say it's circling high above. If you do so at the end of your movement phase, you can set this unit on the battlefield more than 9 inches from the enemy, and at the start of the 4th battle round, any models that are still in reserve are slain. So you can use this, guys, to keep your opponent honest. Those back objectives that they're going to try and hold off, you can grab them off them, which loads of people would do. You would see whole tournaments won off the back of that strategy, specifically because of fire and flight rule, which is in your shooting phase. After this unit shoots, you can roll a dice. If you do so on a 4+, this unit can make a normal move of 6 inches, and it cannot retreat.
They basically their whole thing is if you want to control one of your back objectives with like a cheap little unit, these guys are going to threaten them. These girls are going to threaten it.
But then what's great, Twitch chat, is this book is flooded with value, because just like Planchet has just said in the chat, not only are the Heartrenders great, yeah, and also the melee versions are great, so the Life Takers, you've also got the Shadow Stonkers. The Khainite Shadow Stonkers are also 11 out of 10. Now. Yeah, 100 points, teleport, mortal wounds, hilarious. -1 to hit in combat, amazing. So that's the Warcry Warband. Is it the Warcry Warband? Yeah, it is. That's right. And then the life, and they're in the book. Actually, Dayton, I wanted to ask you about this. Is this the first? I don't know if you know this. Twitch chat, you might know this. Is this the first time we've seen a Warcry Warband in an actual battle tome? Because that's great.
No, yeah, STDs. Do they have them in there?
Slaves to Darkness. Thank you, Plymouth Troll Slayers.
Yeah.
They've got them in. Thank you.
Yeah, STD's got
love to you all. Love to you all.
Whatever.
Okay.
He gets rambly. It's early for him too. Come on now.
I'm just stupid. That's the main trick. Thank you, Hawkeye, Ziggy. You're all lovely. Someone else in the chat wants to let me know it's Slaves to Darkness as well. I'd really appreciate that.
One more.
One more.
So they got a rend on their blades now when they charge, which they didn't have before.
So this is the Life Takers. They got that 6-up save. Again, they've got they've only got the 6-up save, right? They've still got the.
They got bladed bucklers.
Oh no, they got Heart Piercer shields, which is +1 to the save rolls. But of course, they can start in the sky. They've got the fight and fly. Each time this unit fights, it can roll a dice after this unit attacks. It's been resolved on a 4+. Now, I have seen people talking about building the Life Taker missile. Have you seen this conversation?
Take 20 of them.
Take 20 of them. Give them Mind Razor. Make them -1 to hit. Not -1 to hit. They on the charge. They've got that 14-inch move. And you just sling them forward, you give them re-rolls to wound, and then you've got a lot of rend on this unit of Life Takers.
-2 damage.
Yeah, -2 damage, which is pretty significant. Yeah.
And then any 6s that they save is a mortal wound back on you. So
pretty good. Also, their unit champ, something we should talk about more, is the Harridan. We don't talk enough about what the unit champs' names are, because the unit champ for Slaanesh are actually really funny. Like, really funny. Right, so then you've got the Bloodstalkers. So these are a little bit unchanged. So this is the Bloodstalkers, this is the Bow Snakes, and the Blood Sisters. We saw the Bow Snakes used quite a lot. Calibron, Teleport, some recent lists. That shooting shot coming in from the Bloodstalkers. Which I think is, shooting twice with the 24-inch range. Very viable build. We saw that a lot. No
6 mortal wounds.
Yeah. No changes there. We saw that used really, really, quite a lot. And not even a massive brick. Sometimes just 10s.
Yeah, 10's fine. If you're shooting twice of them, you get good value out of it.
And then the Blood Sisters. Now, the Blood Sisters probably because of Broken Realms and generally because of how they used to be played, feel like they've got worse.
I feel like they got better.
But
yeah,
you think they got better?
Yeah, because now
take us through why?
Their ability to do mortal wounds, I think, is better. Before it was just an attack, so they had to be within range. Now, if you got a big string of 20 of them and you get pincered in the corner by a freaking shark and you can't pile in, it doesn't matter. That shark is dead because you're getting 20 more. All those 20 girls are going to mortal wound explode him to death. And so if you spread them out, so if you get 20 of them, I've done it before against Bud a few times. Hey, Bud. If you tag them out and you got a few models engaged, you can pick which one you're going to do all the mortal wounds on.
Yeah. I agree.
And they're durable. And you can make them 3d6 or 2d6 run and still charge.
I'm building an army based on Snake Lady, says Velatron, swapping top half with the new Slaanesh warrior models, hoping that these are good. Yeah, but they're
8-inch
fine.
move is good.
Yeah, I mean, you can do all of the buffs that we talked about with Witch Elves to the Blood Sisters, so +1
Witch
save.
Elves?
Fanatical...
And they drop 10 points.
Yes,
well.
Fanatical Faith rolls can be a 5-up. You could have them re-rolling, which is super good as well. They move 8, which is nice. If you stick an Iron Scale Meliusai in there, you've got Run and Charge and on 2d6, so they can be super fast as well. And they're quite brave. They've got a Bravery 8. So, and again, they're not as fast as Morathi. Oh, no, actually, they're as fast as Morathi. So if you wanted to go super hard, super quick, you can sling them forward with Morathi. So they're good. It's just what you've got with the other buffs is you've got weight of attacks versus points, really. If you're taking Witch Elves or Sister of Slaughter, you're generally getting, for your points, you generally get more attacks.
But they're not a bad choice.
They're not a bad choice. No. Especially at their points value, right? MC Prowlington, thanks for subscribing and joining the gang. That's so nice. I love all these new people joining. Welcome to the team. So that's Blood Sisters and Bloodstalkers. And lastly, some people say that they are the runt of the litter.
Doomfire Warlocks. Great models.
Doomfire Warlocks. 2 wounds each, 5-up save, move 14 inches. They've got an okay shooting attack, actually. 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, no renders. Anyone know what the points is, please? For
they dropped 40 points. They used to be 160, the 120.
Shut up. For a cavalry unit, 160, 120 for 5.
That is a caster.
That's a caster. Wow. so they got a 5-up save, which again is not very survivable, but of course they're very cheap. Yeah, they're cheap. 10 wounds for a 5-up save. There's move 14 and is a caster. Important. So you can add one to the casting and binding rolls to that unit while it has 5 or more models. So for 240 points, you could get a +2 to cast unit of a 20 wound wizard, which is super fun. And then you've got the Doomfire, which is casting value of 6. If successfully cast, becoming within 12 inches of the caster. If the casting unit has 5 models or less, the enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the casting unit has between 5 and 9 models, it suffers D6 mortal wounds. And if the casting unit has 10 or more models, it suffers a flat 6 mortal wounds, which is actually...
That's good. That's pretty good. For a unit that's going to be going 14 inches and a decent save, and even their combat is no slouch. -1 red and 1 damage. That's okay. I'm alright with that.
2 attacks, 4s, 3s, round 1 damage. Yeah.
And the horsies, 4s and 4s. And they have a shooting attack on top of that. They're actually really good now.
120 points. They're like the perfect skirmisher, and then they're a wizard.
Yeah.
The only maybe problem with them is that the army systematically plays around the towers. Pretty much. It either plays around the towers or it plays around Morathi. And whether or not, but you're going to want something. And normally the Heartrenders, what they would do, I've seen this done loads. You have a guy with 2 units of Heartrenders and you think, okay, he's going to keep them off the board. But if he was up against a brick wall army or something that was trying to charge into the Daughters of Khaine, he'd just drop them into the middle objectives. He'd be like, cool, I score those. Now you have to charge those 2 units of 5 birds and I'm going to countercharge you. Because you can't really turn 1 threaten your opponent with Daughters of Khaine. Unless you're taking the bows, unless you're taking Morathi. You don't have, turn 1. So these are a great trading unit, right?
So for 40 points more than the Heartrenders, you're getting 5 more wounds and 4 more attacks each.
Yeah.
And a spell.
Yeah. So they're great trading units with skirmishing for cheap. So, yeah.
Now that they're 120, you're actually considering them, because before they're 160, and it was like, no, you're not taking them. Now you're like, okay, cool.
So that's all the War Scrolls, and all I got to tell you is, Dayton, I'm excited for this book.
Yeah, Daughters of Khaine are gonna be excited about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, really, really good. And it's upsetting because you don't want to be overly critical, but the difference between the two is pretty stark, and it's weird, especially as you might be someone who loves a book, or you might love a certain army, for example, and it's a bit of a Russian roulette coming from Games Workshop in the future. It's worrying. My only hope is that the Grave Lords have been written by whoever wrote the DOK book, right? Because we could talk about Seraphon and these guys all the time. There's also an argument that maybe some of these are too cheap compared to some other stuff. I think there's a really good comparison there and really healthy. Some of the points on this could come up a little bit, if only by 10 points. Now, the main point... Oh, we didn't do the foot avatar. Let me go get the foot avatar. Give me a sec.
He's the same one that's on the shrine. He's got 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, minus 2/3 damage,
But
and then he has
provides,
6 attacks shooting.
But he also provides +1 to prayer rolls as well now. That's the important point. So
Oh,
your
okay.
prayers are going off on 2s. Yeah. The battalions are not expensive. Mr. Lee, thank you for subscribing. Let me just get you the points for the battalions.
They're like 120, 100 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
I'll take you through those in a minute. Right now, but I was going to say, Dayton, how do you feel about the difference between the books?
It sucks. it's we saw it with the Osiark Bone Reapers and Maw Tribes. It's 2 completely different books. And we all just want books to be like Cities of Sigmar. Just well written and lots of depth.
I mean, the internal imparity in Cities of Sigmar is a bit of an issue, but I think Cities of Sigmar is like a really, really good example, because ultimately what I think we want is what the Seraphon and the Cities of Sigmar book do, which is allow us to play our collection in different ways. So, like, Seraphon, if I want, like, I know the points are too cheap on Seraphon, so it's bad as a conversation, but actually, if you put the points up all over Seraphon in the right ways, actually, you've got Kotal's Claw, which works well. You have Thunder Lizard and all of that works well. You do have the different sub-factions creating a broader... Tzeentch did the same as well. Again, some points conversations, but ultimately, you could play different armies based on which sub-faction you went into. Thank you, Snakebites, for subscribing. Thanks. It's lovely of you. So, really, really well done. And then the other guy is rubbish. Whoever does the other book, get rid of that guy. This other guy does quite well. Like, he makes everything too cheap. And if he did
it's sad,
too
too, because there's, like, Daughters of Khaine was almost like an afterthought of, here, you get a book. And people are like, wow, it's an amazing book. Thank you. They're like, yeah, that's fine. We just kind of threw it to the side. But here's this new faction we've been working on really hard. Well, it's shit. I won't say shit. That's a bit strong. There might be some
hold on.
stuff
Thelma wants me to read something. Once again, I'd like you to read this. Daughters of Khaine priests can chant as many prayers as they know in a proper Daughters army. It's on the prayers page in the tome. Okay, so some janky FAQ stuff. Let me go and read it. Thank you very much, Thelma. I saw you insistently doing that, so I appreciate you sticking through. Let's go find the prayer page and do this together, Dayton. Let's all take it slowly and read. You ready? She Who Thirsts. Thanks for subscribing. I apologize about your
Scott B, I made a reference to the book writing. Like, they go off into the forest, and each one of them are in isolation, and they write a book, and then they come back after 6 months with a huge beard, and they're like, here you go. And then they just produce it. Like, they're not in contact with anything that's going on in the game when they write these books.
Right, so let's talk about the prayers. In your hero phase, each friendly Daughters of Khaine priest that knows any prayers can chant each prayer that they know. If they do so, make a prayer roll by rolling, and then what we know before, 1 is a mortal wound, 3 plus goes. In addition to any other prayers they know, each friendly priest in a Daughters of Khaine army knows 1 prayer from the prayers of Khainite cult. You can either choose or roll for the prayer for each priest knows. Each prayer from the prayers of the Khainite cult can only be chanted once per turn, regardless of how many priests know their prayer. So that is a change, right? Or is that might not even be a change?
No,
so
it is, because before you had the choice of, they only did the 1 prayer, and you chose between the 2 or 3 that they had on their war scroll, and then they got to, in addition, do the 1 that they got to take for the faction.
Right. So, but I think the point that is being made in the chat is in your hero phase, each friendly Daughters of Khaine priest that knows any prayers can chant each prayer that they know.
Yeah, so now they can do more prayers. So they can
do more prayers. So the ones on their war scroll, the ones that they take, and any others that they have access to. So they can take...
We've seen GW come with FAQs right away to fix jank. They don't waste time. They got a crack team. They'll be on it in a second.
So that could get an FAQ in 3 to 18 months. Could be when we expect to see that.
I need to say this, Ola. We love this game, though. Don't take it. We're just honest.
We've been excited about the whole thing, right? So they can do all their War Scroll prayers. Yes, Pete. So they can't repeat prayers. So if they have Catechism or Murder, right, they cannot repeat that prayer more than once per turn. However, they can cast every prayer. So if you have 1 priest, they can cast their War Scrolls, all of their War Scroll spells, prayers, the one that they take from the prayer lore, and also the invocation, all from one caster. So really, you could get like a...
each priestess has 3 prayers that they do.
So if you're the priestess on the Cauldron, you can try and bring the Avatar alive.
Yep.
You can do Catechism of Murder, and you can do the other 2 prayers. So
you can make your weapons into D3 damage, and you can animate, and
you can try and do the invocations. That's 5.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Touch of Death. I love this. Touch of Death is still in there.
Go on, tell us what it does.
Touch of Death is you put a die in your hand, and your opponent picks. And if they pick the die, then they're good, I think. If not... Oh, if you pick the one holding the dice, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. It's the old school, like, talk in a different voice.
Endless 2, yeah, that would work. And also, Thulman has also pointed out you can take an extra pair from an artifact, the Blood Sigil, as well. So that would be 6 machine gun none. Someone said in the chat from Parry Gallister. That works for me. I like that. I think overall this book is put together quite well. It's harder to play in some ways, which I think is a bonus because it was arguably easier to play before, and it felt a little bit like crazy ultimately. And the book was already doing really well. So this book has gone from already doing really well. I feel like, so is this book a 5-0 army? It's really hard to say that when you're in like a Seraphon meta because ultimately those things are just super cheap and they have loads of mechanics to deal with some of this stuff. But you have, like, a lot of the armies that we see at the moment, even Sons of Behemoth are a good example, are what we call a DPS check. So how much output can you do, and can you actually blow through my army? And
Daughters of Blender. Blender bronze.
Daughters of Khaine at least passed the DPS check that you would need to, like, fight in most games, which is super important. It's one of the things that Hedonites don't have. They don't have the DPS check at all. So you really, like, it's a great book. Like, it's going to be tough to play. Is it going to be a 5-0 army? Interesting to see. But I think it's a great book, and it's got loads of room to move around, right?
Yeah, it's got so many models now. You're getting so much more out of the. There's going to be more girls on the table. Yeah. So, and witches and Sisters of Slaughter are horrible models. So have fun with that.
But maybe this book getting all of these updates is the reason Seraphon the Salamander is now 80 points. That's a really good point there,
right.
Adam.
Yeah, you gotta counter that.
Yeah. Obviously, only play them at 110 points. Anyone who's listening at home, that's the joke. But don't actually play them at 80 points. Like Rob said.
Right. TTS is going crazy.
Salamander control me. Right, Dayton, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you.
Dude, I love our Sundays. It's been a while. We haven't chatted in a while. I missed it.
It's been lovely. Yeah, really, really nice. Next Saturday, if you guys are interested, there's going to be the conclusion to Hammer Time 7 tournament, which is going to be really exciting.
Big. Poor Orkman has to play against that Seraphon list.
No, not poor Orkman. Is Orkman the hero that we deserve? That's the real question. Yeah.
I hope so, but it's not looking good. And Seraphon are going to play each other, so they get to eliminate. So there should only be 2.
Which is I'm over the moon about. And of course, I'm really excited for all the Hedonites players to play each other at the bottom tables. Right, so it's been a pleasure.
Hey, they'll be there with Sylvaneth.
That's true. And Beast of Chaos will be there.
They get their elves in one way or another, just not Daughters of Khaine.
But yeah, it's lovely having you on the show. Twitch chat, thanks for tuning in. Love you tons. I hope you've appreciated this. I've loved going through like the units slowly. It's been like a really fun kind of like way of like looking at it. I don't know if you enjoyed it, Dayton.
I did. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the 140 people that came out to see me yawn all morning. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys. We should be hearing about Partner any day now. No idea. It's meant to be 2 weeks, and that was 3 weeks ago, so looking forward to that. But yeah, you guys are all great. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you loads. Don't forget, we've got 2 shows tomorrow. We've got the Age of Sigmar Stat Center with Owen Jackson.
So good. Man, that man is just so charismatic. I don't know how he does it.
Me either. I don't even think he does push-ups. He's just brilliant.
He runs tournaments in his sleep.
Yeah. And then Monday night, we've obviously got Dan, me, and James. We're going to be talking about these books in more detail, which I think will be super fun. So yeah, you guys are brilliant. Thanks for doing this and hanging out with us. Dayton, any shout-outs? Again, 40k. 40
Yep, 40 hours of 40k.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was my
40K.
English accent. It was bad.
Yeah.
But it is. Is it English? I don't know. Whatever. 40 hours of 40k. They're a reach-out program for anyone dealing with any mental issues or not even just feeling down. Being self-aware is big. Knowing that what you're feeling is not the normal and recognizing that maybe you should reach out and just have a chat. Even if it's just a chat. A chat can be great. The chat with Rob, that resets me for the whole week.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Also, I found a French Age of Sigmar channel, if anyone speaks French. I can't remember what it is right now. And they are the happiest fucking people I've ever seen. They're spinning a wheel, and I'm literally going to ask someone in French what that, like, a French guy I know, what they're saying, because I have no idea, but they play their game, and then they just randomly start spinning a wheel, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? You French nutcases.
There'll be a lot of tabernacles over this Hedonites book, though.
Yeah, the French Wargame Studio, Haken, thank you very much. If you know what that is, please let me know and tell them I'm massive fans, because they're so enthusiastic. I listened for like 15 minutes in French. I was like, what the fuck is happening? But yeah,
6
great.
gifted subscriptions right at the last minute.
Clutch. Oh, who from?
What are we at?
Mr. Hector. Oh,
yeah.
buddy. Oh, thank you for donating some gift subscriptions in the chat. Thanks, Mr. Hector. That's lovely of you. And also thank you to She Who Thirsts for joining the Twitch chat as well. Oh, you guys are great. Are you going to split the Monday show so that you only talk about one faction this Monday and the other next faction? Yes, Snake Bites. Yeah, because I feel like otherwise Nathan will get really upset. I might also just try and sell Nathan as each one of the units being really good in Slaanesh. Like, I might try and like play the other. Do you know what I mean? Play the other side. I'm like, Nate, they've got like all these rerolls. They'd be like, oh, Rob, how many points? 180. He'd be like, what the fuck? Thanks to Mr. Hector for that big energy. All right, let's get out of here. It's been a pleasure. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Dayton, happy Valentine's to you. Happy Valentine's to everyone in the chat. You're all brilliant. Love you loads. Take care of yourselves. Bye.